Hi, I'm Naved Khan. I'm responsible for service provider technical enablement.
And I'm Yushen Ng, Product Management at Cohesity. And today we're excited to talk to you about service provider multi-tenant security. Now, to recap, you may have heard us previously discuss and define multi-tenancy as logical isolation on shared hardware. And we achieve that through both management isolation, like Coke can't see Pepsi, and vice versa, as well as data plane isolation, meaning VLANs per tenant, logical storage domains per tenant. Today we want to talk a little bit more about encryption and how that helps us securely isolate tenants. Naved, can you share with us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Yushen. So all tenant data is encrypted, both in flight and also at rest. So each tenant's data is encrypted independently, and each tenant key is different. Okay, that enables crypto arrays. So if the tenant loses its keys, the data is no longer accessible. Now, in addition to that, Cohesity provides built-in support for key management systems, and that supports rotating keys over a period of defined time. In addition to that, today we have external support for key management systems with SafeNet and Gemalto. So that covers encryption and multi-tenancy. And now let's talk about role-based access, Yushen.
So our whole multi-tenant system is actually built on top of our core Cohesity role-based access control system. So let's first talk about role-based access control, or RBAC. And then we'll talk about how we extend and build on top of it to achieve multi-tenancy. So in RBAC, you first create a role. And a role captures the actions or privileges available to a user. For example, an admin or a read-only viewer kind of role. Mm-hmm. And then you create a user, assign a role, and assign a set of data access boundaries.
Interesting. So, Yushen, you talk about these data access boundaries. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So here, by example, this user who's an admin, he can do anything on VMs 1, 2, and 3, databases 1, 2, and 3, and this set of NAS shares.
Right.
Whereas this other user can do read-only actions on a whole different set of VMs, databases, and NAS shares. So now what we do is we build on top of this RBAC system to achieve multi-tenancy and cohesity. Let's talk about that. So RBAC, or role-based access control. In multi-tenancy, tenants are called organizations. Mm-hmm. And organizations are defined as a set of users and their data access boundaries. So for example, building on the example we had before, you might have these two users be part of org 1, and these data access boundaries also be part of that org 1. And here, this new user and its data access boundaries could be part of a separate org 2. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And each org here, those users could be defined by an Active Directory domain or an AD group. These and their data access is just completely flexible and definable. It could be a single VM, it could be a single vCenter, it could be a single any other hypervisor,
right?
However you want to define those boundaries.
Sure.
That's kind of what's available to the organization.
So, Yushen, in a multi-tenant environment, how do we deliver fine-grained isolation?
Yes, so it's exactly this mechanism, where at this kind of very fine grain, the organizations are defined to have access to only their data set. And there's really no mixing here between what org 1 can access
Right.
and what org 2 can access.
Understand.
And as you can see in the diagram also, we can even further subdivide within the organization and allow some users to have certain kind of privilege levels on even a subset of what's available to the entire organization.
At the object level, even.
Yeah, at the individual VM, individual database, or individual other kind of server or data store level.
Great, that's fantastic. So let me recap then. On today's video, we talked about secure multi-tenancy. We touched on secure multi-tenancy by creating organizations on shared infrastructure. Then we touched upon encryption, extending the security by looking at, on a per-tenant basis, how data is encrypted in flight, and then how data is encrypted at rest. We talked about key management systems, but with again on a per-tenant basis with rotating keys. And lastly, we talked about role-based access and how, on top of role-based access, we have actually built on top, obviously multi-tenant features and capabilities. So hope you find this video useful. Please look at our website. We are obviously continuously adding more and more functions and features. From a service provider perspective, please look at new services that we're offering, and we'll obviously be working on new upcoming videos looking at new services. Thank you so much.